You've probably seen countless paintings in your life, but have you ever wondered what twisted secrets they hide? What if I told you that some paintings are more than just art, that they are also clues to unsolved crimes? One such example is the painting called Jack the Ripper's Bedroom. Watch this video till the end to know all about it. This haunting masterpiece was created in 1907 by Walter Sickert, a German-born British painter and printmaker who lived from 1860 to 1842. Walter was an influential figure in the British art scene, and he was known for his realistic and often gritty depictions of life. But that's not all there was to him. He also had a dark side, and some even believe that he was the man behind the brutal murders of at least 5 women in the Whitechapel district of London in 1888. But before we get to that, let's talk a bit about the details of the painting. The artwork depicts a dimly lit room with a bed, a wardrobe, a chair, and a window. The furniture is all twisted and distorted, as if it had been melted or warped by heat. The colors in the painting are also strange and unnatural, with bright blues and greens mixed with dark browns and blacks. The light in the room is dim and blurry, creating a hazy atmosphere that makes it difficult to see clearly. The viewer is left with a feeling of unease and disorientation. The distorted furniture and strange colors create a sense of unsteadiness, as if the world is not as it should be. The dim light makes it difficult to see what is happening, which adds to the sense of mystery and suspense. The viewer is left wondering what is lurking in the shadows and what the true nature of this place is. The painting is reminiscent of a nightmare, where the world is strange and threatening. The composition of the painting is based on a strong geometry. You can recognize the vertical lines of a door and a chair in the front and the horizontal lines of the blinds at the back. The painting has a dark and ominous tone, with shades of red ranging from deep to pale, reflecting Walter's training under James McNeill Whistler, the master of color harmonies. But this painting also has a sinister theme, a characteristic that was typical of Walter. The scene is very unsettling. In the center of the room stands a figure dressed in black with no visible head or face, looking almost like what one would imagine the Angel of Death to look like. The figure is assumed to be Jack the Ripper himself, standing in his rented room where he may have planned his murders and committed his crimes. The painting is based on a story that Walter heard from his landlady, who claimed that the previous tenant of the room was none other than the infamous killer. He painted this painting 20 years after the killing took place. He said that he used this room as a studio and painted it as he imagined it would have looked like when the Ripper lived there. He also added some elements to the painting that he imagined would have been present in the Ripper's room. For example, the painting includes a bloodstain on the bed, which Walter said he imagined would have been left by one of the Ripper's victims. Walter was influenced by Impressionism and Post-Impressionism. He painted scenes of urban life, often depicting the everyday mundane lives of the poor and marginalized people of London. His paintings are characterized by their loose brushwork, muted colors, and strong sense of atmosphere. He also painted several other psychologically complex artworks related to the murders, such as the Camden Town murder and L'Affaire de Camden Town, but he was specifically intrigued by the legend of Jack the Ripper, and being fascinated by crime and violence, he used it as inspiration for his art. But who exactly was Jack the Ripper, and how was he connected to the artist and his work? Well, to answer these questions, we need to go back to the year 1888, when London was terrorized by a series of brutal murders that shocked the world. Between August and November of that year, at least 5 women, all prostitutes, were killed and mutilated at the Whitechapel district of London's East End. The killer was never caught or identified, but he became known as Jack the Ripper, after a letter that was allegedly sent by him to the police, taunting them and claiming his name. The murder sparked a frenzy of media coverage, public panic, and police investigation. Hundreds of suspects were considered, but none were conclusively proven to be the Ripper. The case remains unsolved to this day and has inspired many artists all around the world, including Walter. What if Walter was not just an innocent artist interested in the matter, but a participant in the killings? What if he was Jack the Ripper himself? This is the theory that has been proposed by several authors and researchers over the years based on various clues and evidence. First of all, Walter's paintings showed a detailed knowledge of the crime scenes and the victim's injuries, which can only be obtained by someone who was there at the scene of the crime or had access to the police reports. Furthermore, Walter had a medical background, having studied anatomy and surgery in his youth. He also had a collection of surgical instruments and books on forensic medicine. This theory was first proposed by Dr. Thomas Stowell, a British surgeon who published an article in 1970 in a crime magazine called The Criminologist. In his article, Stowell claimed that he had access to the personal papers of Sir William Gull, a physician who treated Queen Victoria and Prince Albert Victor. Stowell emphasized that Gull had a patient who suffered from syphilis and insanity, and who confessed to being Jack the Ripper before dying in 1892. Stowell might not have named this patient in his article, but he gave enough clues to suggest that he was Prince Albert Victor himself, the grandson of Queen Victoria and heir to the throne. Stowell also implied that Walter was involved in covering up the royal scandal by painting false portraits of Prince Albert Victor to make him look healthy and sane. Stowell's article caused a sensation, but it was also widely criticized for being based on dubious evidence and speculation. Stowell's theory has been met with skepticism by many historians and criminologists. There is no concrete evidence to support Stowell's claims, and many of the details of his theory have been disputed. But it is important to note that Walter was known to have a twisted personality. He had a penchant for violence, misogyny, and sexual preservation. He was known to frequent brothels and prostitutes, and he may have suffered from impotence or venereal disease. If that wasn't concerning enough, Walter even left behind several letters and drawings that suggest his involvement in the murders. Some of these are similar to the ones sent by Jack the Ripper to the police and the press, with the aid of which he used to taunt them, along with other clues and threats. However, even with the great number of clues that pointed towards Walter being involved in the murders, there were many contradictions and errors in them. This was the reason why the artist or any other suspect could never actually be convicted. Many people argued that Walter was innocent, as his paintings are not accurate representations of reality, but rather artistic interpretations that reflect his own style and vision. He often used models or photographs as references, and he altered or exaggerated details for dramatic effect. In addition to that, Walter's medical knowledge was not uncommon for an artist of his time. Many artists used to study anatomy and other sciences in order to make their paintings more realistic. So, Walter's knowledge of anatomy does not prove that he had the skill or motive to perform such complex mutilations on his victims, and it is possible that he simply studied anatomy in order to make his paintings more realistic, and that he had no intention of using this for violence. When it comes to Walter's letters and drawings that he left behind, they were not authenticated or verified as being from him or from Jack the Ripper. There is no consensus amongst experts on whether or not Walter's letters and drawings are genuine. Some experts believe that they are authentic, while others believe that they could have been forged or fabricated by someone else who wanted to implicate him or create a sensation. So what is the truth behind this painting? Is it a clue to a dark secret that has been lingering for years, or is it just a coincidence of history? Could it be a portrait of a killer or a victim who has fallen prey to slander? The mystery remains unsolved, and perhaps it always will. But one thing is certain, this painting is a haunting reminder of one of the most terrifying episodes in human history, one of the most elusive criminals ever known, and the emotional reactions it can invoke in all of us. The painting is like a window into the mind of a killer, and it also leaves the viewer distressed, with a lingering feeling of unease and uncertainty. Click on any of the two videos on the screen right now for more content.